Hello everyone and welcome back for more Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hel. My name is Firebug and today we're going to be continuing the Seeress series. So we're going to be playing Helheim on Nightmare 10. Let us begin! Alrighty, so now I have finally have the chance to make this video. So I have just been busy with life, like holiday and all this other stuff, helping family, and I'm in the current of just moving right now. So that takes a lot of time to try to, one, record a video, two, try to finish the video and all that fun stuff. So you can't really finish a video if you're moving. So that's where I've been. Sorry for the lack of uploads. Once I'm finally done moving, all that fun stuff, I should be able and be more stable to make more videos. So just stick around. I know we're almost close to the end of the Seeress series, and hopefully this helps you guys. So, I know you didn't click on the video just to hear me yap about my life. Let's actually get into business. So, this video is not going to be just a typical, oh, this is what this item does, this is what this passive does. I want to do this video a little different. Why? Because I feel like I'm at the point that hopefully you watched the entire series so far, like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. This is going to be part 5. So hopefully you watched the other older, well, not older, but videos of the Seeress. Because I don't have to like repeat myself of like, what does the Thorns do? What does the Wisp do? What does Scotty do? Right? I think you should already have an idea of what these abilities or builds do exactly. That being said, I want to talk about the tips and tricks of this video. And why I decided to talk about tips and tricks on this map in particular, because in Helheim, there's different levels. So if you haven't played Helheim, there are, I think, 5 to 6 different levels. First area is pretty simple. Like, the enemies are not that, strong. So you can actually start farming them as much as you can. The idea here in the beginning is to get enough level to get your subclass. And time really matters. So you want to try to finish the first area at least on the 16-minute mark. When the timer says 16, then descend to the next level. However, you can stick around if you haven't got to your subclass, because the more you go down further into each level, the harder it is for you to beat the next one, because enemies are going to be a little bit more stronger. You're going to encounter elites, all that fun stuff. So in the beginning, what I usually do is I farm as much as I can. At least I get to level 12 so I can get my subclass. Once I at least get my subclass, if I look at the timer, if it really depends. Sometimes I can get level 12 and get my subclass really fast. Other times it does take me a little bit longer. So I kind of just look at the time. Usually the time that works best for me is at least 16. 15, you're kind of pushing it, and then 14, you're kind of lacking behind. Just because the other sections on this map or the levels, it does require a little bit longer time to at least finish the objective, especially the trap room. The trap room, you have to be in there for at least 2 minutes, if I remember correctly. A minute or 2 minutes. So you have to keep in mind that if you run out of time, then you have to restart the entire Helheim again. So the build is going to just be cooldowns with Njord, Scotty, with all the freezes, and Freya with the double cast. The idea with the double cast is I'm not healing from the double cast because that requires Odin, but since I have a lot of cooldowns, it will proc the double cast even faster. So, and I know some people get that mixed up, that double cast and cooldown. Cooldown just means that you can throw your abilities a lot faster. Double cast just means that you have a chance to not just throw one of that same type ability, but you could throw two at the same time. So what I mean by that is, instead of just throwing your first ability, let's say like Thorns, for example, you could proc it 2 times at the same time. That's what double cast means. So that's the idea of this build. It's just a lot of AoE and a lot of freeze. Now for the second area of this kind of hallway, my best tip is to, one, take your time. I know I said time is on the essence, but for this area, if you try rushing it like how I did in my Flame Sister video when I beat Helheim on Nightmare 10 on the first time with Flame Sister, I tried rushing it and I always usually die here. Don't do that. Just take your time and walk up slowly. Don't stand still, of course. You have to slowly inch your way upwards. And be careful because there are going to be some points that is going to be a little bit more narrow than other parts of this second area. So when it has that more of the choke of this kind of hallway, the enemies can push each other to move faster. And you can kind of notice that sometimes. If that happens, just try to move up it faster as you can. And take the time and opportunity to kill these enemies, because these enemies, they're slightly stronger than the first ones of the first area. The second area, they're pretty squishy as well. But again, if you just slowly walk your way up, heading each of the doors, you will be fine. And there is going to be some times that the enemies are going to push up against each other, causing them to move faster towards you. So that's when you have to be a little careful. But again, you should be fine. This area isn't too hard. And again, do not worry about the chest at the very end. Do not worry about the other stuff. That does not matter. You're going to waste time if you run all the way back down there and grab that chest and run all the way back up. That is just going to take too much time. It is not worth it. But right here, I'm kind of just farming a little bit more until I descend to the next area, because the next area is going to be very hard. All right, now let us talk about the third area. So I kind of messed up here. I picked the wrong objective. I should have did the other objective, not this one. The one that silence you. I don't know why I chose this one. I know in my Flame Sister video, it was easy for her because the flame rays or the fire rays, they can still hit even if you're outside the bubble. My thought was since I have a lot of AoE attacks or abilities, I should be able to do the same. That was not the case. So I took a lot of time try to beat this third objective. So I learned my lesson not to do that mistake. Because again, time is on the essence. Since I did pretty well in the first two areas, I'm not too worried about what time I have. But just know that I was falling behind for the rest of the video. So I had to rush the next area's objective, which I'll discuss once I make it there. But the reason why this third area is pretty strong is because, one, you had to deal with a huge elite or mini boss, and two, you have these hogs. The hogs have a lot of health, and they just are tanky. And since I don't have Odin in his one passive, the Worthy Opponent, that does a little bit more extra damage to elites, it takes a little bit longer to actually beat this area. So that's why my recommendation is to, one, if you're in the situation where I'm at, the best tip that I'll give you is keep moving around. Don't ever stop moving around. Keep going in a big circle. Stay away from corners. Corners will get you killed. If you're in the corner, it will get you killed. But try to stay in like the areas that are not kind of silenced. And then if you can't help it or there's just too many enemies, then go to this silence area of where the pillars are. If you don't know what silence really does, it just means that you can't use your class abilities or your god abilities, and you're just relying on your basic attacks to destroy the pillars. So another thing that I'll give you a tip is to pick your fights. And you probably heard me say that in my older videos. What I mean by that is do not, you look at the enemies and you do not want to fight the hogs or the elite because, one, you're just end up killing. What I mean by pick your fights, look for the squishier enemies and walk towards them because you have a higher chance to kill them before you even reach up to them or they even reach to you. In that time window, you can have more room to dodge other projectiles that are being thrown at you. Especially those like fire, that blue fire that the skeletons are throwing at you. My other tip for kind of like in this area is that you should be able to have enough levels to max out at least one of your class or god abilities, and that will really help you kill majority of these hordes of enemies. Because if you are still struggling, my other best tip is to, one, look at where you're at most of the time. You don't have to worry about looking at the enemies. You just give them a quick glance. You're like, okay, I see these guys are pretty squishy, so I should run towards them. Or there's an opening right here, so I could run towards the opening. And you want to, if you're in this objective like I am, you want to slowly just kind of like destroy them. As you don't want to stand in it because that's again another way to get you killed. And you don't want to die. Yes, I have 2 revives, but since I don't have Odin, Odin is the only one that can give you another revive. So I could technically have 3 revives if I did pick Odin, but I didn't pick Odin, so I had to utilize these 2 revives the best I can, especially in the later in Helheim, the other rooms, because the other rooms are going to be even harder than this one. So that's why you should try your best not to die in any like room in general, right? So and you want to keep those revives, especially in the other room, like the trap room, because the trap room, I'm going to be honest, I always end up dying in that room all the time. And I tried my best not to die in it, but it just happens. But as you can see, if you just keep moving around, you slowly destroy the pillars or the silence pillars, you should be fine. I know, again, the time is up to like down to 8 minutes left into the entire run. So I had to try to beat the other areas as fast as I can now. But if you are in this room, don't pick this objective. Pick the other objectives, like the sacrifice one should be a little bit easier. And my favorite one in this room is the portal one. Yes, the portal does take a little bit of time, but it's so much easier because you don't have a silence, or you don't have to have a debuff on your character, and it won't take as long as this objective has. All right, and then in this room, since I only have 8 minutes left, I have to, one, run to each of the dead kings, activate them, and then kill them all at the same time. That's the idea. And at this point, since I spent so much time on the other level, I'm actually a little bit ahead of my levels, because I'm actually at level 23 up to 24. So since I had to rush this one, I had to activate the dead king, then go straight to the next one, activate that one, go to the last one, and then activate that one. But since I'm walking towards the other one, the first king should be pretty low, because I have a lot of AoE damage that's consistently hitting him and freezing him, and it's considered as a debuff, so you can do extra damage with the passive of the little omen, or omen, whatever you call it, the 3 omen. You know, the best passive for Seeress, right? And he will eventually just die pretty easily, since I am kind of over leveled in this area. Another tip is just to max out all of your gods and class abilities. Don't worry about the passives. Don't worry about the double cast. Don't worry about anything else. What I usually do is to max out my class abilities and my god abilities, then go for the passives. And do not worry, I'll show you the entire build at the very end, so you know what passives I picked up and all that fun stuff. But if you are watching the video and you keep it attention of what my level system is, then you have an idea of what I did in that situation. This area isn't too hard. What you want to do is just to watch out for projectiles, especially those archers, because the fire archers will, if you get hit by it, you will take tick damage, which isn't the best idea for Seeress. But if you ever struggled with like bullet hells, or kind of like roguelikes, kind of like what this game is, my best tip is to, one, always look at where your character is. Focus on your character more the most, like 90% of the time. The 10% is to glance, right? Quickly glance where the enemy is and the projectiles. And most projectiles, what I do in my head is I count how fast the projectile is gonna contact me. So if an enemy throws a projectile, I'll count in my head like 1, 2, 3. So every time I see a projectile, I count 1, 2, 3. The 3 is going to be, okay, that's when I need to dodge, or the projectile is going to contact towards me. So that's like my tip. What helps me to dodge projectiles. And I know sometimes you'll see me run into projectiles. That just happens, right? I can't keep my eye on each enemy all at once. But what I do is 90% of the time, I'm looking where my character is and where she is standing and where I can move her so I'm away from danger. Because Seeress is pretty squishy as it is. So you don't want to consistently get hit. Because if you're staring at an enemy, you're most likely going to get hit because you're not paying attention of your surroundings, because you're fixated to one enemy and not the other enemies that are like behind you, around you, on your left, on your right. You kind of get the idea. All right, and this other room, the mirrors. My best tip is to look at the mini map and kind of draw a line to each of, like, connect the dots is the best way I could describe it. And you kind of look at the first mirror, and it's like, okay, this first mirror has a laser, and if I rotate it, it can connect to the other one. However, it's never going to be straightforward. What I mean by that is, like, since one mirror connects to the other, doesn't mean it's always the correct answer. It's usually 90% of the time that you have to connect the laser to not to one mirror, but to the other, to the second option. And that's usually the best tip I could give you guys, because there are 3 different puzzles. Yes, this puzzle, if you have this puzzle like in the same time as this video, then you got lucky. But there are 3 different puzzles that are RNG. So, but most of the time they're pretty easy to solve. And if you are struggling, always kind of, like, what I usually do is look at the minimap, kind of like mentally connect the dots, right? And that will help you out a little bit easier. You don't have to, like, stare at the minimap, like, kind of glance at it, or like, okay, I know where this mirror is, I know where this mirror is, I know where this mirror is, so on and so on. And you want to always start with the first mirror that has a laser, and you always think of, okay, this mirror can only contact with this mirror. However, if I have a second option, it's usually the second option to solve the puzzle. And then eventually you can line up the mirror, and then you can solve the puzzle, and the laser should always hit the center so you could descend to the next level. All right, now we're in the trap room. This is going to be the hardest room yet. So my best tip for you is, like I said, is to focus on where your character is, and you count on the projectiles. For me, I know that the blue orbs, right? Not the Seeress orbs, don't get that confused. But the blue ones, they always take 3 seconds and then contact. So what I do in my head is like, okay, I see a blue orb in the corner of my eye, and then I'll count 1, 2, 3. And every 3, I have to dodge. Always pick your fights, like I said from the previous area as well. Pick your fights, run towards the squishier enemies because you have a higher chance to instantly kill them than running towards a elite or the big, mini boss. For the triangles, what I usually do is, if you could actually stand on, like, the edges of the triangles, and you should be fine most of the time. Don't ever stand in the center. Rock in a circular pattern works very well in this kind of game, and you might see me do that again with the bosses. Stay away with corners, because if you stand on the corner, then you're gonna most likely die. So you don't want to do that. I know this looks very intense because it is, but that is the best tip I could give you guys, as to just focus on where your character is most of the time, because this is going to be kind of like a bullet hell / trap room, and I've always have died once here. So that's why you should always have at least a revive on you, or try to keep your revives as much as you can. And you had to stay here for quite some time to finally descend to the boss room. So again, this is why time really matters. because sometimes I will get to this point of this map and I'll run out of time and I won't even get to the boss room, because once you hit to the boss room, there is no time and you could just finish the entire rest of Helheim. But I've always run out of time with Seeress, so in this video I finally didn't run out of time and I finally made it to the boss. Alright, and now since we're in the boss room, my best tip is to, one, stay away from the boss. Like, don't ever stand close to the boss. If you stand close to it, it has a chance to insta-kill you. And I'm not kidding. That is a real thing in this game. Because enemies in this game and bosses and all that fun stuff, even if you're close to an enemy, you'll take a lot more damage. So with Seeress, she does not like guys at all. She likes to not have any gross creature on her. So that's why distance is her favorite thing. Keep your distance from the enemies. And since you already kind of recognize some of these bosses, right? Well, not the actual boss, the main boss, right? She's pretty easy to dodge her abilities and all that fun stuff. You should be able to recognize the other Jotuns, and that is going to be the very first one, to the second, and to the third map, and so on and so on, all the way up to the last final boss. And since you already have beaten them, you should already know their kind of move patterns, or like, oh, he's gonna do a big swing, I should probably dodge that time, blah blah blah. You should already have like an idea how to encounter and kill most of these bosses. But as you can see with my build, with all the cooldown freezes and all that, I'm pretty good at just shredding these bosses, and it's quite funny, honestly. So do not, again, like I said, do not worry. I'll show you the full build at the very end. But for the bosses, just walk in a big circle and you usually be fine, and don't, just kind of watch where their attack abilities and the red circles on the ground, just kind of watch out for that. But most of the time you should be fine. But as you can see, we have finally beat Helheim on Nightmare 10 with Seeress. Alright, just like I promised, here is the full build so you can copy and paste it if you wish to. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon in the next video. Subscribe so you don't miss out when I try to beat Helheim on Nightmare 10 with Seeress. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.